Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Good Friday evening and welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm meteorologist Gabe and we are tracking a cool down aside from these warm conditions we had today. So I hope you enjoyed the forecast because it's all downhill from here. One of the many headlines we're tracking here in the Room to Room Weather Center. We get with that first one. Yeah, of course, I already said it. But temps are downhill from here, meaning we are cooling off significantly heading into our Saturday, but really into our Sunday and Monday forecast. Limited chances for rainfall Saturday. That's where we kind of keep those temperatures at bay from cooling off too much. But it's that next front that's rolling in that's going to really bring in that cold Canadian air. And Matt joining us live in Saltillo tonight. He has the latest on that forecast out there in the field. Of course, he joins us now at the very latest on the conditions, but also the very latest on the Saltillo parade as we continue our coverage tonight.
Absolutely. We're here in Saltillo at the high school. The parade kicking off at 7 p.m. this evening. So we're actually at the lineup for all the floats, getting ready for that. And it's about as nice a night as we have had as far as this entire season of parades has gone so far. Again, appreciate the folks at MLM Clothiers for sponsoring our parade coverage here. You can see this parade, this one here, looks like we got Candyland there and ready to go. You doing all right, sir? Well, Gabe one of the two of us have to actually do our job, make the money back there at the station. That's what Gabe's doing. And Gabe, a popular figure here in Saltillo. I want to show you another. We've had a lot of parades this year. This is the first time I've seen a full Whoville. We got all the Who's here. All the Who's say hi. So the Whoville, this is actually the 4th grade student council at Saltillo Elementary, right?
Yes.
Man, and so y'all look great. So y'all should be proud. So are there winners and losers on not losers? Are there winners on the parade tonight? Is it something you might win?
I think it is. It's a judged parade. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we're excited to be here.
I was gonna say either way, they look great. Hey, y'all have fun tonight. All right. Bye. We'll see y'all later. Now I'll kind of throw up here a second and the temperatures, as you can see outside this evening, as I kind of flop that on the screen here for a moment. We're coming in with around the very, reasonable temperatures. Gabe, you might have to give it one more try here. If that's in play, see if he'll pop on the temperature. There we go, Gabe. We got about 53 degrees at this time. Feels like 53 because luckily the winds are fairly calm out there and hopefully going to stay that way as we progress into and through this evening. Temperatures across the region, all things considered, there were some car and bank thermometers that were middle or upper 60s today in a few spots. We're still holding on to 58 out there at this time right now in Kosciuszko, 55 degrees, Louisville, 52 in Amory, and 53 in the Tupelo and Saltillo area at this moment. First 12 has us 48 by 7 beginning of this parade, which, considering how cold this has been this year, I had the Grinch coming toward me a second ago. I saw my life flash before my eyes. Anyway, mid-30s on the way by tomorrow morning, and a lot colder weather beyond that. That's one of the big weather stories that is just going to drop a lot. We have 2 cold fronts we're looking at. The first of those that has come through started to shift to slightly cooler air. The next one of those that's a little farther behind that, this one attached to that low-pressure center you see out to the north and east. This is a satellite and radar. It's a Mississippi Live Doppler radar, but you don't see any precipitation until you get way up north there toward Omaha, Nebraska. I think it's going to take a wave of moisture coming at us from, close to the Gulf to get some moisture to where it could be down south and possibly close enough to get a little bit into our area. Here's a look at Futurecast. And certainly over the next 12 hours, probably not going to see much as that northwest wind bringing in the drier and cooler air from that direction. You can see that front back up there toward around Tennessee and northern Arkansas. The thinking is that has some really, truly, legitimately Arctic air on the way for the next couple of days beyond tomorrow. So we go down a little bit with this first front on the next 24. as we go 54 by noon and 58 tomorrow afternoon. So no 60s like what we had today, but we do anticipate that it will probably, with a little bit of a wind, feel slightly cooler than that, and rain chances do start to come back late in the day, really southern portion of the area. That's where that 10 to around 20% on that rain coverage probably comes into the mix there. Okay, coming up in 60 seconds, though, it is the big drop that is the story that everyone's going to be talking about. How cold do those wind chill temperatures get? We'll be looking at that much more detail. And yeah, this is a smoky sort of scene you see behind me here. The lineup for the Saltillo Christmas Parade, brought to you, of course, by MLM Clothiers. Our coverage of all these parades here. That's a full nativity scene. Mary dancing because it's warm enough she can get away with it, but that won't last long. Your full forecast coming up here as Mississippi Live Weather continues from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
The number one reason insurance denies roof claims is not what you think. Insurance companies aren't denying your claim because you don't have damage. They're denying it because they don't have documentation. This is why we use drones, AI technology, satellite imagery, and just good old roofing experience to document everything that might be wrong with your roof. You as a homeowner need a roofer with documentation standards. Call Absolute Restoration. Let us come and inspect, document, and present.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Welcome back to the Room to Room Weather Center. We are tracking our sky coverage tonight because it was a beautiful sight across North Mississippi. This, a look in Columbus. As you can see that sunset there in the distance, those orange hues, and interacting with some of that moisture, making for some pink clouds. Terry showing off with that picture, and a big thank you to Terry, our weather watcher in Lowndes County, submitting this picture. Did you get a sunset? Well, go ahead and submit that through the Mississippi Live Weather app, and we will showcase that on the 10 o'clock broadcast tonight. Let's go ahead and get into those skies right now, and unfortunately, similar to last night, all good things must come to an end, and those sunsets have unfortunately set fully, and now we are in night across North Mississippi. Now, this is where those temperatures will start cooling off into those overnight hours, but currently low 50s in Aberdeen, dew point right around 50 degrees, and in order for those cooler temperatures to settle in, that drier air has to push in as a result. So low 50s, and those dew points need to come back just a little bit into the 30s in order for those temperatures to drop as well. And we expect it to, but not just in Aberdeen. As we get a look there in Maben, 55 degrees with dew points still in the mid 50s there towards Oktibbeha County. So that moisture needs to come back just a bit, add that drier air, and then that's as that cool air pushes in right behind it. And trust me, it will. Saltillo tonight, it is a great night for a Christmas parade. Folks out there traveling up Highway 45 to head over there towards Mobile Street, and it is going to be a great time out there as those floats lining up. Fantastic floats. Got to go over to Saltillo Elementary earlier on today and take a look at some of their door decorations as well as ugly Christmas sweaters, and those were some cool decorations. Let me tell you, there was so much innovative ideas. We're talking about Home Alone being represented, had the elevator of the plaza as well as the Statue of Liberty wrapped up in Christmas lights. I mean, it was so creative, and also had the Grinch. We also had a full winter wonderland. I mean, it was a fantastic sight. I know they're going to have pictures up later on today, but definitely grateful to be a part of that, and shout out Saltillo Elementary for having me out today. It was a fantastic time, and I know that you guys are carrying that energy over to the parade tonight, and it's going to be a good one here in about 45 minutes as that parade gets going. 53 degrees right now over the North Mississippi area. Still those dew points in the mid 40s, dialing on back as that drier air settles in, and we expect it to continue to fall back into those overnight hours. Our Mississippi Live Weather radar not tracking anything. I mean, it is a very dry pattern, as has been the case throughout the latter portion of our work week, so we'll continue to enjoy those dry conditions into tonight and into at least the start of our Saturday before some potential light showers work their way in. Now, as Matt was discussing a moment ago, this is that front that's interacting with our area that's cooling things off heading into our Saturday. But the Arctic air, that Canadian air, that's going to be with this second front right here as that pushes into North Mississippi by Saturday afternoon. And by the time we get going into our Sunday, I hope you have those layers ready because it is going to be that cold of a forecast. Let's look at temperatures right now across the region. 54 Tupelo, 57, or should I say, 57 around Little Rock as we work our way up north, 35 Springfield, 36 St. Louis, and 40 degrees Bowling Green. All of these temperatures receding overnight, and we will be waking up to those freezing conditions in some areas, but slightly above freezing for the rest of us here in North Mississippi. But I mentioned that Arctic air. Take a look at folks up north in Minnesota, the Dakotas, as well as Montana. We're talking single digits in some areas into the negatives. Now, be grateful you live in Mississippi. We're not expecting this type of cold, but 20s, low 20s, even some teens working their way into the forecast. Not an impossibility heading into our Sunday night and for the start of our Monday morning. So that's what I'm talking about. Layers, they will be needed and necessary heading out the door for our Monday morning commute. For tonight, though, we still need layers, but I think we'll get away with just one tonight. 53 degrees by 6 as that parade kicks off in Saltillo. 48 degrees, still with those mostly clear skies, and 45 degrees by 8 p.m. I do want to note Water Valley has started their parade. 6 p.m. was the start time for there, and I know it's going to be a great time. If you are heading out to the Water Valley parade, submit those pictures. We want to see those sights and sounds, see those sights, hear those sounds in Water Valley tonight. I know it's going to be a great time and excited to see the floats that are represented out there. So let's go ahead and get into this forecast. And we're going to start with our Friday evening and keep it on the wide shot, mainly because there's not really any rainfall in that forecast overnight. So as we track that cold front pushing out of the region, we can see those northerly winds back into the forecast. So wind chill maybe dropping us a degree or two. I don't really have this dropping us too much, but it is still going to be a cold start nonetheless, so have those layers ready. That front moving out towards the south and east away from us here in North Mississippi and driving a good bit of that moisture south as well. So light showers possible for Montgomery and Jackson, Alabama, but not here in North Mississippi. We are staying dry, and not only dry, we are staying clear. It's going to be a beautiful sight all night long and into the start of our Saturday morning. So bringing it back up towards the North Mississippi area, you can see that it's going to be a great start to our weekend. But low temperatures, they are still going to be cold. I said around freezing. That's primarily going to be along the Tennessee state line. Working our way south, we'll see mid-30s into the forecast around Houston and Bruce, and then continuing our way south, 40 degrees Louisville, Macon, Kosciuszko, and Greenville. But those wind chill values, again, not dropping it too much, primarily going to be out west where we see those temperatures be affected with feels like values around the low 30s, mid 30s there, Cleveland and Greenville, but the rest of us going to be sitting pretty much where those temperatures are. So not much of a drop, and we'll take what we can get for sure when it comes to this cold forecast ahead. But let's keep Futurecast going because it's not just the front on Friday we are watching. We have another front moving in on Saturday. I will say, I always try to keep an optimistic view on these fronts that we are grateful there's no rainfall attached to it. So any of those weekend plans are going to be good to go. Maybe into your Saturday evening. Maybe get a drop or two as we get into that late afternoon, early evening forecast. And we'll see that right here on our Saturday Futurecast. So that front extending all the way across North Mississippi by 10:30 a.m. gradually, slowly but surely, should I say, working its way south by 12 p.m. going to be over the top of the Savannah, Tennessee area, just crossing that Tennessee state line. And as the time we get into our mid-afternoon, already getting down there towards parts of Highway 6 and extending towards Highway 82 by 5 and 6 o'clock on your Saturday evening. Now, by the time we get to there, potentially a sprinkler or two. As you can see, some of those greens extending a little bit more north. Expect a good bit of these to be elevated, meaning not reaching all the way to the surface, but I'm not ruling out a potential sprinkler or two into those late afternoon, early evening forecasts. So have that rain gear ready. But at most, we're going to use the windshield wiper terminology here. We're going up to that first notch, not going anywhere beyond that. High temperatures on Saturday, upper 50s, low 60s across the northern half of our viewing area with 56 in New Albany, 55 Senatobia, and 59 Water Valley, extending south, 60 in Grenada, Bruce, 59 in Amory, and 62 Golden Triangle, 63 Louisville, and 65 around Kosciuszko. It's another beautiful forecast, but those temperatures, you'll feel that slight difference in the air as drier air is in place, as well as some slight cool downs. But that's not the cool down we're talking about. It's going to be beyond that point that we're going to track out here in just a moment. So let's get back into our Futurecast. And as you can see, it's definitely not an impossibility. We get a sprinkler or two, but those best chances and those heavier rainfall going to be down south towards those Gulf Coast regions. So that front driving a lot of that moisture away from us. So at most we get a few light showers, but that's really it in our coverage. And still the majority of us are staying dry. So 10 p.m. on your Saturday, that's as those showers work their way on out. And we're going to bring it back in here to North Mississippi. And by 3 a.m., you can see it already dry. So this is not going to last long. At most, again, first notch on the windshield wiper dial. By 6 a.m. on your Sunday morning, We do have some clouds in the sky, but watch this. Watch as we get into that late morning forecast. All of that moisture is driven south, and no surprise why. Those breezy conditions coming out of the north giving us that drier and cooler air, pushing all the moisture towards the Gulf Coast and leaving us with those clear skies. But don't be fooled. These sunny skies are not warming anything up, as we will stay cold, cold, cold all day long for our Sunday, even into those afternoon plans. So if you have a need to get out and about and you want to enjoy these sunny skies, you'll need a couple of layers to accommodate for those cold conditions, even during that peak afternoon heating time frame. So 6 p.m. on your Sunday, still enjoying those clear conditions as that moisture again extending further towards the Gulf Coast and leaving us with those dry skies. That extends into our early hours of our Monday, should I say, as a result. So enjoy it. Going to be a good forecast. High pressure keeping us dry beyond that last front moving in on our Saturday. But high temperatures. I know what you're thinking, Gabe, that does not look like high temperatures, that looks like low temperatures. You'd be exactly right, because these numbers line up with our low temperatures heading into Saturday morning. So a cold start across, I fell for it. A cold finish to our Sunday. 31 degrees New Albany and Oxford, 28 South Haven, 36 Grenada, Bruce, Houston, 40 in Columbus, and 40 around Macon. So layer up. It's going to be a cold one with some areas not even getting above freezing. So that's the type of cold we're talking about. So there's your Sunday high temperature. Of course, it can't be seen on this graphic because we only go as far as low as 40 degrees. But getting into our Monday, climbing back to 40 degrees. But then the better temperatures move in, and by midweek next week, we'll be back into the 60s before our next frontal system pushes in. But we know the cold doesn't just go with high temperatures, it goes to our low temperatures as well. And as you take a look at this graphic right here, you can definitely see that we are cooling off significantly into the teens for the start of Monday morning, but both Sunday and Tuesday going to be starting in the mid-20s. So that cold threshold going to last from Sunday all the way up until Tuesday. So have those layers ready heading into the start of the week, as we are going to be dealing with some Arctic air for sure. 7 a.m., 35 degrees on your Saturday. So enjoy the Saturday forecast while those slightly above average conditions are in place. 58 degrees by the afternoon, but then the cold settles in for Sunday, for Monday, for Tuesday. 16 degrees, that start temperature for our Monday morning. Oh my word, it's going to be cold. So I can't say it enough, and I hope you guys are preparing. Probably going to have to drip some pipes as we get into our Monday morning as well. So Sunday night, we'll be talking the latest details on that. So just stay prepared, stay ahead. We want you guys to stay safe. Tuesday morning, still starting off cold. I do want to say mid-20s is definitely nothing to move past, but 51 degrees by the afternoon, trending much better. Wednesday, upper 50s, and Thursday, mid-60s with that chance of rain back into the forecast. Of course, we'll be breaking down all of those rain chances as well as those temperatures coming up here in the Room to Room Weather Center for Mississippi Live Weather at 6, coming up in the next 60. If you have a question about this forecast, we encourage you guys to drop it in the chat, and we will discuss that in more detail coming up after the break. But we do want to note, it's going to be cold, and we want you guys to be prepared. We'll see you back here in the next 60.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
Watching the sun come up, that's my time. I can have a cup of coffee, and every day is a new opportunity.
That's cool. Your hand's gotten so cute. Yay!
Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Let's see how far we can go. Love your mind.
By the time you see the symptoms of lung cancer, it could be too late. Now there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early. If you smoked, get scanned.
Welcome back here to the Room to Room Weather Center. We are going to start with our Merry and Bright Christmas Light promo. Again, being doing this all month long. We will continue to do it all the way up until our Christmas holiday. So go ahead and submit your lights all across North Mississippi, as we want to showcase that and all of the effort that you're doing. Josh in New Albany submitting this picture. I love the coverage, but I also love the fact that you submitted it with those lights off, like the house light, should I say, because it really emphasizes those Christmas lights. You get to emphasize the reindeer out in the yard, the lights strung on the roof, even some of those window fixtures. I can't make it out off the top of my head, but I do see some wreaths and some lights around those window panes. It's looking beautiful. Candy canes in the yard. That was the theme yesterday, and I'm learning that we need to get some candy canes in the yard at the Maynor household to match that same energy, because I guess this year December 2025 is the year of the candy cane. But as we get a look at some of those interior decorations, Merry, hey, it's merry and bright Christmas light. Can't have those Christmas lights without Merry, to emphasize the merry and bright. And Mary submitting this picture, a great shot of the blue and white on the tree. Love that. And the blue and white really emphasizing that cold Arctic air that's going to be moving into the early part of next week. So let's go ahead and get into that. And of course, this isn't going to pause. We're going to drag it out as we get into that extended forecast. So this is future temperatures on your Friday evening. Of course, you can see 48 degrees, not too far off from where we are sitting right now in Tupelo. As we get overnight and into our Saturday morning, we're going to be cold, but only going to be in the freezing, if not above freezing, heading out the door. So it's going to be a good looking start to our weekend. Afternoon temperatures going to climb back into the low 60s for some parts, but as we get into our forecast, I mean, it's going to be sitting pretty for sure. Very similar to what we had today, if not a couple of degrees less than what we had by peak heating this afternoon. Then we get into our Sunday. It's just something you have to smile about because that's the only way you're going to survive this forecast is through the warmth of happiness. So as we get into our Sunday morning, you can see that those temperatures dip, cold air moves in, and start temperatures for your Sunday, potentially into the teens in some spots, wind chill bumping it down to the teens for sure. But we're going to be sitting in the low to mid 20s across North Mississippi heading out the door. And I would be putting emphasis on that, but it gets even colder heading into the start of our Monday. But the issue with Sunday is it doesn't change too much. It never really warms up. So Sunday morning, starting out in the 20s, by the afternoon, let's get into that 3 o'clock hour. That's what our long track models are saying. Not going to be warming up hardly at all. We're going to be sitting around freezing and below freezing for some areas as we get towards that peak heating of the afternoon. So that sunshine not doing anything in the form of warming us up. But then we get into our Sunday night and Monday morning. And you can see what's pushing in. Yeah, a lot of those purples, and those purples are indicative of teens. So we are going to start out our mornings in the teens for the start of our work week. So we want to make sure to layer up. And I told someone the other day, I was like, if there's a day to call in sick, it'd be Monday morning because no one wants to be out in that. But just make sure if you are that you are staying warm. You're going to want to crank those cars a little bit early to get them going. Husbands, if you want to be good husbands, head out there a little bit early and crank your wife's car. She will be very appreciative. I'm going to try to take that note Monday morning. But as we get into that extended forecast, you can see temperatures do get better. Some of those yellows return, and those yellows are going to be around those 50 to 60 degrees, and we'll get to enjoy that by the time we get towards midweek next week. But we also have another graphic, and we debuted this yesterday. It's what we'd call our beyond normal graphic, our beyond normal forecast, and it shows some of that cold air dipping into North Mississippi, and we'll get a visual of that a little bit more whenever we're looking at that legend at the top of the screen. Of course, those light blues slightly below normal, but as we work our way into those purples, that's going to be that extreme cold pushing in place. So let's go ahead and get into it. And again, this is using our strike model, the long-range strike model. And as we get into our weekend forecast, you can see some of those blues and some of those darker blues already getting into the Wisconsin area. That's well north, not going to be us in North Mississippi, but if we have friends or neighbors up there, definitely say a prayer for that cold forecast they're going to be experiencing. As we get into our Saturday afternoon, recedes just a bit, but then we get into our Sunday morning, and all of that dark blue starts to extend further towards the south and up around the Springfield, Illinois area, going to be the bullseye we are watching for that extreme cold potential. Down here, we're going to be dipping slightly below that normal that we usually expect for this time of year. That building into the area by 7 a.m., and you can see the entire north half of the state going to be dealing with those below average conditions. So as we get into that extended forecast, we know Monday is our, do I call it a golden day? It's not really anything golden about it. It's a cold day, but it's our day where we're going to see the highest opportunity for some of that extreme cold to work its way in. I mean, look at the legend. This is 7 a.m. on our Monday. And as you can see on our legend, that mid portion part where we're just on the outskirts of that extreme cold, going to be those darker blues. And we're getting that here in North Mississippi. That's how cold we're talking for the start of our Monday morning. So we want you guys to be prepared and stay safe because this is definitely a forecast that we need to be preparing for. That cold can catch you off guard. You don't want to get stuck out in it or have the heater turn off or anything of that nature. We just need to make sure that we have different ways to stay prepared as that cold works its way in. By the time we get towards our Monday afternoon, things are already trending a little bit better. And then as we get into our Tuesday morning, of course, some of that cold dipping back into the region before a lot of that extreme cold, a lot of that beyond normal works its way out of the forecast. I do want to note, before we get into that forecast though, we have a beautiful night tonight, and I hope you guys are heading out there to either Water Valley or Saltillo to enjoy some of those Christmas parades. It's going to be shaping up to be a picture-perfect forecast. 45 degrees by 8, 42 by 10, and as we get into our weekend, yes, because 12 a.m. is technically the start of our Saturday, 39 degrees is where we're starting out, so it's going to be cold overnight, but the real cold settles in by the time we get towards early Sunday morning and extending into our Sunday afternoon. So I hope that everyone is staying prepared, staying warm during this forecast, and of course staying updated with the latest weather information. It's going to be a great one for sure. I want to check in and make sure Matt might be seeing all the different floats. I think he is. So we will try and get something from him to showcase at 10, but we will see you guys back here coming up at the 10 o'clock broadcast. If you have not done so, best way to be prepared is with that Mississippi Live weather app, free and available on iOS and Android. So make sure to scan the QR codes on the bottom left and right of your screen to download the latest app today. That will keep you updated on that North Mississippi weather information. It also does have our stream live casting that at 10 p.m. on your Friday night. And we'll be back for your weekend forecast at 6 and 10 with meteorologist Caleb Edelblut. He'll be tracking those cold conditions, and trust me, it's going to be a forecast you want to stay tuned for. We'll see you back here at 10. Until then, have a fantastic Friday, and of course, stay warm.